Hi guys, it's Isa. Today we're gonna do the mid-year freakout tag. Before we start, let me know down below in the comments what were your reading goals and how are you doing?
Because we are almost mid-year.
And we start strong with the first question, which is, what's the best book that you've read so far this year? The answer to this question is so complex. However, one of those reads that I've really loved lately, it's Black Sun. It's an adult fantasy story that talks about different points of view in this pre-Columbian American civilization, where we will follow our main characters through this momentum because a winter solstice is coming. And it's a story about gods, it's a story about religion, about magic. I thought it was so interesting. It really starts strong, very strong, and it really maintains the pace. The characters are compelling, you feel for them, and you know the things that happen to them. It's not that it's realistic necessarily, but you are like, no! What's the best sequel that you've read this year? And so I really read great sequels. I've really loved Shortfall, which is book 2 in the Founders trilogy, as well as The Bone Shard Emperor, which again, book 2 in the Drowning Empire.
Shortfall.
Adult fantasy story with hard magic system and a quest at its core. Meanwhile, Bone Shard Daughter, it's adult fantasy, but it has a hint of sci-fi, a hint of horror. But the sequel that I actually loved a little bit more than the first book, it's Legendary, which was book 2 in the Caraval series. And because I love book 1, it talks about two sisters. It's kind of like a quest, a game. They live very badly. They have the opportunity to go to this place with this Caraval game. It's taking place and they go, but upon arriving, one of the sisters is kidnapped and the other needs to solve these clues. And then book 2, to my surprise, it changes characters, changes the story. And I loved it. I really loved it. New release that you haven't read but you want to. I really want to get into Blood Scion, which is this young adult story where we will follow our main character that it's part of the legacy that has magic, but she is treated very badly and she will decide to go and infiltrate herself into the army, and she has also elemental magic. It sounds really fantastic. And then the other one, it's a magic steeped in poison, because it seems so cozy. I just want to die. It's a nation-inspired story, which I always love. And magic is supposed to happen around tea, which, yes. Most anticipated releases for the other half of the year. I'm dying to get to Fury Song, which is book 3 in the Aurelian Cycle series. First one, Fireborn, Flamefall, Fury Song. One of my favorite series is gonna get concluded. This, although it's a young adult story, it really reads as adult fantasy. It's a story about the aftermath of revolution, and we will also have dragons. And the other one is Bloodmark, which is book 2 from the Legendborn series. I loved Legendborn. It follows this girl, Bree, that is coping with the death of her mom, and you know, and one day starting college, she sees this magic society called Legendborn, where there are the scions of Arthur, King Arthur. So it has this Arthurian mythology there, but it also has a hint of root magic, which I thought it was again a very unique. Biggest disappointment, and honestly for me it was House of Sky and Breath. First, this was chunky, and second, I really loved the first book of Crescent City. I loved it, and book 2 I was like, yay, Sarah J Maas always delivers, and in this case I didn't believe so. It was fine, but I thought the story to be inconsequential, and even felt that the stakes were really high. For me it was like, meh,
Things will happen.
hopefully book 3 will get better again, because the ending was honestly a cliffhanger. The other disappointment, it's A City of Stars, which is another series by one of the authors that I really like. And this one was like this world where the gods lived, and you know, now it's kind of like the aftermath because they are dead, but this world still has some remnants of those gods. And is it possible that the gods are still alive? Let's see with our main characters these, because people are starting to die and there's a mystery to be solved. Right down my alley. but it was sadly so boring for me. Then we go to the biggest surprise, which was Promise of Blood. Oh my god, I did this Brandon Sanderson challenge and I kept it till the last because I thought this wasn't gonna be, you know, my jam. And as soon as I started reading it, I was like, why did I ever stop myself from reading it? I loved it. Perfect blend between character and plot-driven story. It starts with a coup in this medieval world where one of our main characters has decided that the king needs to die, and he does so. He kills him in the first chapter, and you know, the whole story, it's kind of like the aftermath of that in this society where there's an incredible magic system, you know, and people can be sorcerers, but they can also be powder mages, which is kind of like people with powers when they are dragged, kind of, which I thought it was gonna be weird, but it turned out fantastically. Then, favorite new author. I do not know. Honestly, there are two questions that I struggled heavily here. This is the first one. The second one, we're still to see. But I do not believe that I have an author that I prefer more than Brandon Sanderson. So, I guess no new favorite authors. Also, Robert Jackson Bennett already discovered last year, and now it's just that I've just read like one book from other authors that I've loved, and I'm not sure if it is too soon to say that are new favorites. So I have a lot in the testing phase. New fictional crush, which is the second question that I really struggle. I don't believe that I fall for my characters in that sense. But I did the exercise and I spent a whole amount of time thinking about this. And I believe that if I were to choose, choose, this will be Orion from the Zodiac Academy. Like, oh, he is sexy, he is smart, he is a little bit of a smart ass, but he is also like falling in love very easily for our girl. And you know, I just think, yeah. Then new favorite character, Kaikei from Kaikei. I really loved this story. It's a retelling. In the story, Kaikei is kind of like the evil queen. In this book, we have the story under her point of view, and I honestly loved her. I thought she was such a bar raiser for society and for women as a whole, and I really loved it. It follows different parts of her life and it's very character driven. Like the plot happens, it's there, but it's almost kind of like historical fantasy. Name a book that made you cry, and then we have Jade City. There's a scene there. It was like no. And then when it happened, I was like, this isn't true. That whole moment I knew it was true, and like I have like this incredible goosebumps, and it was such an emotional moment. And I really like J City overall, mainly due to that. It follows this Kikone's empire when they have Jade, and Jade is kind of like the element by which they are able to do magic. And in this city, there are kind of like different bands that fight for the control of the city and the Jade. A book that made me happy, and that is Temerary by Naomi Novik. This is a story about dragons bonding, how to train it. This dragon, it's kind of like a little bit sassy. It has this very high intelligence, and it's a little bit like, ha, suck it. And it's at the same time a very ordered. I thought it was such a refreshing read, a retelling of the Napoleonic Wars, but with dragons. But don't be held off by this, it's really light. What's the most beautiful book you've bought so far? And I really believe it's this version of Inkheart, which is incredible. Like this whole edition, it's just fantastic. Other level beautiful. And last but not least, what do you want to read before next year? I really want to get into Adrian Tchaikovsky with Guns of Dawn. I really want to read Sendlin Essence, and I really want to get a little bit into sci-fi as well. So that's kind of like the spectrum, I guess. I'm so excited for this second half of the year. My goal was to read 100 books this year. It's mid-June and I'm at 44, so Hopefully by the end of June I'm 50 and I'm like, oh, just barely making it, but like a win. So let me know down below, what were your best reads, the most disappointing ones to you, and you know, overall just share. I'm happy whenever I see any comment of you. I feel so warmed up when you are there. I publish bookish content every Tuesday and Friday for you to enjoy. If you want to stay tuned, click that subscription button, and I really hope to see you soon in all the videos. Happy reading!